Can you do recruitment from anywhere in the world? How do you do a business model, this is genuinely one of the best service-based business models that you can do from anywhere in the world. I remember when I was 26 I think I was, I went to Hajj, went with the missus, was away for a month, my business was still running, and I was running my business from abroad. How was I doing that? Well, actually, I was using a system called a VoIP phone. And what that basically is, you could be in Saudi Arabia, in Pakistan, in Jamaica, in Egypt. It doesn't matter where you are. You could be using a VoIP phone, and what that does is you're in a country abroad, but the number that comes up, it's a UK number. You could have a UK number, US number, whatever you want. So imagine calling from abroad with a UK number, so the other person doesn't actually know where you are. And so you could just call from wherever. You could be in any country. You can, your cost could be like super low living in, let's say, Egypt, for example, and you could be calling from a UK number. So the person doesn't actually know where you're calling from. We've got a lot of people right now, they're in Egypt, in Saudi Arabia. We've got a few brothers in Medina at the moment. They're living there. They're running their recruitment companies. That's kind of how it works. Now, also, you can do recruitment for any country. Right? So we've got several people that are in Pakistan, in India, registering companies in the UK and then supplying services to, people in Germany, in the US, and UAE. It doesn't actually matter. It's actually much easier than you think. Like, it's not a building, a cafe, a restaurant where you need to be in that place. So for example, you could be a UK business, and this is something that I've done, and you could be supplying companies in the US, in Europe, you can also do the Middle East. And so it doesn't actually matter where you register your company and who you do business with. You are not limited whatsoever. All you need is an internet connection, you need a mobile phone, you need to, basically you get a VoIP system. And this, by the way, is probably gonna cost you about, $19.99. I think it could be even cheaper, man, to be honest with you guys. So these systems is how you would actually set up a recruitment company from anywhere in the world. Now, I'll tell you something, right? The biggest mistakes that you guys will make, there are so many mistakes, okay? And the truth is, I can't cover everything right now. I'm trying to cover as much value as I can, and I hope that you guys are getting value and an understanding of everything. But there's some of the biggest mistakes that I've seen. It's not actually necessarily even to do with the knowledge, the information, and though something like that, like if you haven't got the right information and the right knowledge, man, guys, it's going to be very difficult. It's going to be very, very difficult, and you are going to struggle. Like, you're in a certain situation, like it happened to one of our students, right? Where he needed to negotiate a contract, and he was like, he got an offer, he got the placement, and then they needed to, like, the client wanted to offer something, the candidate wanted to offer something, and they needed to bring it together. And it was like, well, how do we bring it together? How can we get it in the middle? How can we get that to push through and make the offer? I had to get on the phone with him and be like, look, say this to the candidate, say this to the client, and get it over the line. And the truth is, if we didn't do that, he probably wouldn't have made the placement. And so there is no doubt that a lack of information and a lack of knowledge will create those situations where you miss out many a times, where you feel like you're close and it doesn't happen, right? And that sometimes is because of a lack of knowledge, and sometimes it's just qadar Allah, okay? Having said that, one of the biggest mistakes that I've seen, and we help a lot with, is just not turning up. Just not turning up, not putting in the effort, not having someone, looking over your shoulder, not having someone checking in with you. You're living your life, you're being comfortable, and you are like, what? Like, it's easier not to do something. So I would say one of the biggest mistakes is actually just being comfortable. Because how many of you guys will be like, I know I need to do something. I know I need to start a side hustle. I know I need to do a business, because actually, if I can make 1,000, 1,500 or 2,000, and that's the bare minimum, right? Actually, the minimum in recruitment really you should be looking at is, £2,500 to £3,000 fee for one person. That's the reality, right? But having said that, many of you guys will be like, you need to do something, but you're not doing it because you're just comfortable. Because actually turning up to work, paying your bills, and living life as you are, it is easier to do that than create change or do something. Right? Which is why actually turning up, and if you said to me, right, if someone asked me this question and they said, where do people go wrong the most, or where do people mess up the most? And it's consistency. Because most people will try really hard for 2 weeks, right? They'll try hard for 2 weeks and they'll put in like 100%. They'll put in 100% and they'll say, yeah, I tried like so hard, but they'll try for 2 weeks, right? And then that's it. Actually, I would much rather you try for 20 weeks and you put in 20% effort. Honestly speaking, it's the same way when you go to the gym, when you're dieting, when you're doing anything in life, right? If you do something, let's say you guys, I'm sure there's a lot of gym bros in here as well, right? Let's say you went to the gym right now, and let's say I lifted the absolute heaviest weight that I can possibly do for 2 weeks, right? And then after 2 weeks, I was like, well, I've not become like massive, or I've not lost a lot of weight. Is it better for me to just be consistent and maybe, you know, do lighter weights and, you know, just turn up to the gym a little bit more, half an hour, 45 minutes, and actually do that over a year? And am I going to see big results over that span, or am I going to see bigger results over 2 weeks? Reality is you're going to see it over a year. Now, we also understand that, and it's the same with me, man, guys. Like, if I be honest with you, sometimes you need a bit of support. Sometimes you need someone checking in with you. Sometimes you need someone saying, look, you can achieve this, you can do this. So sometimes it's not about turning up for 2 weeks for 100%, which is what social media will tell you. Turn up 2 weeks, 100%, and you'll make XXX. No, you know, in recruitment especially, I think at least 4 to 5 to 6 weeks is what your expectation should be. And then from that, for me, I would rather you put in 20% of effort for 20 weeks. Yeah, as long as you don't stop, you can't give up. Think about that. If you stop, you've given up and you failed. But if you don't stop, if you're working a job and you're like, you know what, I've got 1 hour free a week, let's say. And if you work that 1 hour a week, every single week, and you do it over 50 weeks, right? As long as you don't give up, you can't fail.